Ladies and gentlemen, children of the interweb, Sebastian Envy, Strong Style, Nerd Strong Style, Cinephile, and of course reigning, defending MPX Prospect Champion, and one half of the CWF Tag Team Champions. While I could go on and on about that, we're here to talk about The Flash, Season 6, Episode 1, so let us geek about that for a scant few minutes. Now we pick up with Barry and Iris dealing with the loss of Nora in last year's finale. This turns out to be a main emotional plot thread of the episode, with Barry and Iris verbalizing some of the feelings they've been holding inside, chief among them being that their reluctance to admit that while they will very likely see Nora again eventually when they have children, it will not be the Nora that they have come to know. Now, Iris worries at one point this makes her kind of selfish in some ways. It brought some emotional weight to the episode, but not too much. Now, other Team Flash activities saw Cisco living the life with his girlfriend and pretty well doing the same thing, functioning in the same capacity as he's done for the past few seasons, which makes me really wonder why we had to suffer through that emo Cisco crap whining about his powers and so his subsequent taking of the Medicare to get rid of them. Absolutely flipping pointless. So disappointed because I thought they realized how bloated the cast had become and decided to unload some of it. I was wrong. Ralph comes back to the team after months of working on the Sue Dearborn missing persons case. Of course, most know in the comics that Sue is the eventual Sue Dibney, the love of Ralph's life. We shall see if it comes to that in the show. Caitlin is dealing with issues with her mental roommate, Killer Frost. In a couple of instances, Frost refuses to come to Caitlin's aid, leading to questions of is she scared or scared to die? Ralph wonders if she's in fact scared to live. We go through this deal where Caitlin allows Killer Frost to take the wheel and live some for herself to make her own memories. Now this scene came off so corny to me. I don't know how others felt about it, but it was just super corny to me with Caitlin talking to herself. Now I realize they might not have the time or budget inclination to do like a face-to-face or have them talking on some mental astral plane or that sort of thing, but there has to be less corny ways. Now, ultimately, I'm wondering where this can go. There are two minds occupying the same space. Now, while Caitlin is kind and understanding of Frost and Frost is protective of Caitlin, they will ultimately have to decide who is going to prevail. At least I think so. That could lead to some fun drama if they went that route, which probably means that they won't. Now, as for the villain of the week, it was an accidental villain with a DIY scientist / social media influencer who made a device to create black holes. When the experiment goes wrong, he finds part of his mind split, leading him to unconsciously make the black holes around the city. The team eventually comes up with some sweet plot device technology to extract his mind from the black hole, put it back in his body. Easy peasy. We were introduced to Bloodwork, who's starting out as the season's villain, but he's not the overarching big bad with a weak premise, weak execution who has to be stretched out over the season with plot-induced stupidity by the lead characters. At least we're led to believe he's not going to be. We meet the guy who is an old colleague of Caitlin as he's burying his mother. He makes a heartfelt speech about her and then makes googly eyes at Caitlin when they talk after the funeral. They agree to meet for coffee, and it's there we find out that the guy is not who he's seen. He couldn't stand how his mother went out, running away from the problem, rather than using her scientific knowledge to find a solution to her sickness. Now, Ramsey can solve the problem, though. He has a cure theory, but needs dark matter, hence his need for Caitlin. When this doesn't happen, when she storms out, he resorts to the black market to get some dark matter and then uses it on himself. Now in the scene, things don't go well, of course, but it cuts away from the scene as he starts screaming and stuff starts shooting out of him. I like the actor, of course, from the days of Heroes, and I believe with a great script, he could be a great villain. Of course, he needs a great script. Will we get that from the CW? Who knows? What I am encouraged about is the new showrunner's comments on the season. Usually one of about 2 or 3 things happens in the 6th season of a hit show, Snoozeville, and it goes into cruise mode, and no one really cares, but you kind of watch it because it's a habit. You make your beans while you watch it, you eat, no big deal. Or Crash and Burn, oh my, it used to be my favorite show, I can't stand it anymore. Or the third, and what Wallace is hoping, is what we're going for this season. We're not looking at this as season 6 of a show, we're looking at it as season 1 of a show. And on the villain, he says, his story begins, it burns very hot. By the time we get to 603, 604, we're in Cuckoo Town, essentially. I mean in the best way, because the story ends in 608. That's wrapped up, the end. We go to Crisis, and then starting at 610, it's a brand new story, graphic novel number 2. So it's a given, I think, the season, again, has a fresh energy that I'm hoping is a reward to all the people who have been watching for 5 seasons. I've been watching for 5 seasons, too. He continues, I love Zoom, Reverse Flash, Savitar, all the gang. But sometimes me and my wife and my child will watch and go, dude, shouldn't he have caught him by now? It's like episode 17. It's normal. It's perfectly normal to think that. So, given these comments, I hope Wallace has a plan to keep the season fresh and making sense. I was just on a message board I frequent, and that's the one thing people were complaining about. Issues with the Thinker and Cicada and the weak villains being forcibly dragged out over the season due to episode requirements. We are an episode in, so we have a long ways to go to see if that happens and judge things there. All in all, I give the episode a 6.5 out of 10. Weak black hole effects. I mean, I've seen stock video from special effects sites that look better. Is that a case of budget money going towards Crisis? Now, speaking of, the Monitor showed up and laid down the decree that the Flash must die in the Crisis to save everyone. He said the Flash, not Barry specifically. So while Barry Allen indeed dies in the Crisis comic, there are more than one Flash out there. So I wonder if they're going to use this as a way for the Flash to die and keep Barry. My thinking is that John Wesley Shipp's Jay Garrick or his Earth 90s actual Barry Allen counterpart will be the Flash that dies. Now we'll see how it develops as we get closer to Crisis. We of course been seeing behind the scenes videos and pictures online that have been great. The Kingdom Come Superman look for Brandon Routh is great, and I can't wait to see his part in the crossover. Black Lightning appears in Wave Rider BTS, so I'm just guessing he'll be in the Legends episode, which finishes off the Crisis in early 2020. It's just very cool stuff to kind of see the pictures of both Tom Welling and Tyler Hoechlin on set, both the Loises being on set. Again, this image with the Flash standing with the two bookended by two Supermen, the Flash and Black Lightning. We're finally getting what we want with Black Lightning being brought into the Arrowverse proper. Okay, it's Crisis. Crisis is going to be phenomenal. I've talked to geek buddies of mine recently a lot about Crisis, and we're all just looking forward to it. I mean, there's fan service is going to be out off the meter, but I don't care. I'm there for it. That's what stuff like this is for. But is it going to be good? Is it going to realize its true potential as far as what it can do for the Arrowverse going forth? Really hoping that it does. Really curious to see how the Flash leads into the Crisis and whatever happens in the Crisis and the fallout on the Flash. Like I said, I'm filled with renewed optimism at the showrunner's views on it and the fact that, hey, he thinks that dragging stuff out is stupid. I mean, I know it's 22, 23, 24 episodes on a given season, but what you can do is look at it, like you said, as a graphic novel. So you take it in parts, an 8-episode arc, 8-episode stories, and you could do 3 8-episode stories per season and just write for that. I think things would be so much better as opposed to just having stupid, long, drawn out storylines and characters and stuff just because you have to stretch stuff out to pad it to make the episode count. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, special effects weren't the best in this episode. Could be because they're putting money off towards Crisis and that sort of thing, or just maybe stuff later in the season. We'll find out. But it was a good start. Anxious to kind of see where it goes this season. So those are some of my thoughts on it. What do you guys out there think? More importantly, let me know in the comments below. Follow me on social media. This weekend, CWF TV tapings. See me there defending that amazing tag team championship title. And of course, MPX next week, prospect title with me in the house. Just going places, kicking faces. It's what I do. But in the meantime, let us geek.